Welcome back to my channel. You already know it's your boyhood digital, the rock reactor, back with another video. Yes, sir. Before I proceed, let me know where you tapping in from. Let me know what country, what city, what mountain, what hill, what cave, what island, what planet, what universe. Let me know where you at. Represent your hood. Yes, sir. We got the news. U.S. attempting to seize Venezuela linked oil tanker with Russian flag. You know, guys, it seems like, I mean, and it's hard to keep up. I know there's a lot more news. And sometimes I cover the news, but it's already like a little bit late. And this one's only a day ago. You know, it seems like the world has become a TV show that every day ends in a cliffhanger. I'm dead serious, guys. Every day is like you wondering what the hell is going to happen. What is Trump going to do now? What is Putin going to do now? What is Xi Jinping going to do now? What is whoever gonna do now, and you're like, what is Kim Jong gonna do now? It's crazy, and every day is a cliffhanger, and every day is interesting. It's like it seems like the news is getting more entertaining than actual TV shows. That's crazy. But let's take a look at this one, guys. And before we do, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Any donations to my channel will be greatly appreciated. My PayPal account is on the screen. Let's check this out, guys.
Right now, I do want to take you out to some breaking news that we are following here. Just coming into our newsroom moments ago, the U.S. attempting to seize a Venezuela-linked oil tanker after a more than 2-week-long pursuit across the Atlantic. That information coming from Reuters as they spoke with various U.S. officials this morning. The seizure could increase the tension between the U.S. and Russia, no surprise there. It came after the tanker, which was originally known as the Bella 1, slipped through a U.S. maritime quote-unquote blockade of sanctioned tankers and rebuffed U.S. Coast Guard efforts to board it. The officials said the operation is being carried out by the Coast Guard and the U.S. military. They added that Russian military vessels were in the general vicinity when the operation took place, and that includes a Russian submarine. The tanker, now registered under a Russian flag, is the latest tanker targeted by the U.S. Coast Guard since the start of President Trump's campaign against Venezuela. The U.S. Coast Guard has also intercepted another Venezuela-linked tanker in Latin American waters.
I heard somebody say that, I seen something that said that they just put that flag there just to protect themselves with the Russian name and the Russian flag. But it could still escalate into something big.
That's also according to Reuters here, just providing that information a short time ago. The U.S. is continuing to enforce a maritime blockade of sanctioned vessels from Venezuela. Again, this information here that you see on your screen, very vague, but just coming in from Reuters here, as they say the U.S. is trying to seize that Venezuela-linked oil tanker after a 2-week-long pursuit across the Atlantic. That ship right now registered under a Russian flag. We'll keep you updated here as we do get additional information. Now, all of this here happening as we take a live look over the Capitol at this hour. We know that today the full House and Senate are expected to receive classified briefings regarding the strike in Venezuela that led to the capture of Nicolas Maduro and his wife, as well as the potential next steps for the U.S. in the region. This follows a similar...
You know, I also seen, guys, let me know if this is true. I also seen that they determined, or they admitted, even the U.S. admitted, that Cartel del Sol, which was supposedly the cartel that belonged to Maduro, doesn't really exist. And now they're not even classifying him as a narco trafficker.
Closed-door meeting earlier this week for a smaller group of lawmakers. And following today's briefing, the Senate is expected to vote tomorrow on Democrat Senator Tim Kaine's War Powers Resolution. It would prevent U.S. military action in or around Venezuela without congressional approval. There is a lot to all of this here, so I do want to bring in Peter Duran, an adjunct senior fellow with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, to talk much more about all of it. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Thanks for having me, Josh.
Of course. And first off, I wanted to start very briefly by talking about this breaking news that just came in. We are talking about an oil tanker that is allegedly, possibly being seized by the U.S. Now, it is linked to Venezuela, but as you heard there from Reuters, it does have a Russian flag right now. Your thoughts overall, what do you make of that?
Well, it's pretty simple. Out on the open water, you can try and run, but you can't hide from the United States military, Josh. This oil tanker has all the characteristics of what we would call your classic embargo runner. It is running oil out of Venezuela. Think about this, Josh. It left Venezuela 2 weeks ago. That seems like a different world from where we are right now. President Maduro was still calling himself the president of Venezuela, and now he's in a jail in New York City. So the United States has said we will enforce our sanctions on Venezuela. And if the crew on that ship is trying to play games by re-registering its the tanker's ownership or flying a different flag, that's a classic shadow tanker maneuver, and it won't work with the United States.
Can you kind of break down when you talk about oil as a whole? There's been a lot of discussion about that since the capture there of Nicolas Maduro and his wife. Explain to me overall the significance of oil there for Venezuela's economy and basically the whole situation there.
Well, Venezuela is your classic oil state. It always has been in the going all the way back to the early part of the 20th century, and perhaps it always will. Before the last barrel of oil is ever pumped on this planet, Josh, it'll probably be pumped out of Saudi Arabia. But right before that last barrel is pumped, Venezuela will pump its last barrel maybe 100 years from now. That's how much oil Venezuela has. It is really hard to get your head around it. The resources are vast. And President Trump has said that under the Monroe Doctrine and his version of it, America should be for the Americans. The United States always has and always should have an important role in Venezuela's oil economy. But without oil, Venezuela has some gold and some other commodities they can sell. But this is a classic oil state. They've got a lot of it. The world needs it. And President Trump has said we want to have a major part in that economy.
On that note here with the oil, I don't want to say up for grabs.
Wait a minute, but he wants to have a big hand in the oil. But that's up to the Venezuelan people because one thing is you get a sanction. Okay, they're sanctioning them, which I need to understand what is that sanction based on. But they can't just go there and take the oil because they feel as though they're a bigger country. That oil belongs to Venezuela. The oil in Venezuela belongs to Venezuela.
But essentially, according to President Trump, it kind of is. How does that impact the U.S. economy overall?
It lowers prices for everyone, not just in the United States, but everyone in the world. This is an important number to understand. Right now, Venezuela produces around 800,000 barrels of oil a day. For most countries, that would be a lot. For Venezuela, this is significantly below where they should be. Usually, Venezuela pumps around $3 million barrels per day. That was before the socialist government under Chavez and Maduro seized American assets, expropriated our infrastructure, and sent two of our three companies packing out of the country. So right now, if the United States is able to use its know-how, its technical abilities, and its experience, we could see more oil coming onto the market.
Wait a minute. Let me rewind this. So because they kicked the American companies out of there, but that's their country, though. I don't get it.
But this is a classic oil state. They've got a lot of it. The world needs it. And President Trump has said we want to have a major part in that economy.
On that note here.
Okay, but he wants to have a major part in that economy by force?
With the oil, I don't want to say up for grabs, but essentially, according to President Trump, it kind of is. How does that impact the U.S. economy overall?
It lowers prices for everyone, not just in the United States, but everyone in the world. This is an important number to understand. Right now, Venezuela produces around 800,000 barrels of oil a day. For most countries, that would be a lot. For Venezuela, this is significantly below where they should be. Usually, Venezuela pumps around $3 million barrels per.
You know what's crazy? Venezuela got all this oil and this is happening in Africa. This is something that's always happened. Venezuela is rich in oil, one of the richest in oil, and they produce all this oil. Yet the citizens in Venezuela are eating food out of the garbage.
Day. That was before the socialist government under Chavez and Maduro seized American assets, expropriated our infrastructure, and sent two of our three companies packing out of the country. So right now, if the United States is able to use its know-how, its technical abilities, and its experience, we could see more oil coming onto the market that would lower prices. And here's the twist: it would be good for the United States and bad for the likes of China, for the likes of Iran and Russia, who need higher oil prices to perpetuate their regimes.
On that same note here, China referring to the U.S. as a quote unquote bully earlier today in regards to everything going on with the oil here. So can you go a little bit more in depth on the impacts here that are going to be felt by folks like those in China, Russia, Iran, and other allies of Venezuela?
Well, this is where I think President Trump has been very wise. When you look at who is buying the oil coming out of Venezuela, China is by far the largest purchaser of this energy. So China is very nervous that it could lose access to that oil. But President Trump has said, no, we are going to continue to allow oil to flow to China. I think that's a wise move because he's trying to calm international nerves while asserting America's preeminent role in the Western Hemisphere in our neighborhood. China, sure, they can talk tough, they can call us a bully, but talk is cheap, especially when you're as far away from Venezuela as the Chinese are, and action matters, particularly when you are close to Venezuela, like we are, Josh.
And when we look at this a little bit deeper here, are there maybe some specific conditions that Venezuela has to meet before oil exports to the U.S. can actually move forward?
Well, this has been the sticking point in the history of our relationship with Venezuela. How much money should a foreign company, like, say, from the United States, rightfully deserve for every barrel sent out of the country? We don't yet know exactly what the contours of any new deal might be, but the bottom line is this: there is a surge of interest by American companies in Venezuela simply because they have so much of something the world needs. And so I fully expect the government there, whoever is running the show a year from now or a week from now, will be very open to a fair and honest distribution of the wealth that the country has.
All right, Peter, before I let you go on this topic, is there anything else that you want to make sure to get out there, that you want to make sure that folks watching fully understand about this?
Well, Josh, we are certainly in a very dynamic situation. It is very difficult to predict what the future may hold. But so far, President Trump has succeeded in hitting every one of the benchmarks he set for himself and his administration, in showing that peace through strength has bite. It has meaning, certainly here in the Western Hemisphere.
All right, taking a live look here outside of the Capitol. I want to pop up this shot of the White House as President Trump is expected to hold the White House press briefing. He won't necessarily be there, but that is the briefing that is set for 11 a.m. Eastern time with at least Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary. Sometimes there are other administrative officials that have been there, and, you know, sometimes President Trump does show up. This is going to be the first White House press briefing of 2026. And actually, before we get into the next topic here, popping this up, Caroline Leavitt posting, I will be holding a press conference at 11 a.m. and we'll be joined by Secretary Kennedy and Secretary Rollins for another major MAHA announcement. Of course, that's Make America.
Guys, I don't know. I don't like where this is going. I think Trump is taking it too far, and I can understand that Trump, he wants to work for the Americans. But, and you know, he works for the American people and he works for the best interests of the American people. But the fact that he should, at the beginning, this all started because supposedly Maduro was a narco trafficker. He was selling drugs, he was pushing drugs into the United States, and all of a sudden that cartel doesn't exist. He's not a narco trafficker, so what are they charging him with? And And now they just want to go in there and take all the oil and administer the oil, and then they're going to negotiate with China what the oil is, and then they're going to administrate all the. I mean, this is not good, guys. This is not good. First of all, this could end up getting catastrophic, guys. This could end up this bullying and all this stuff. This might not end well, guys. Is all I gotta say. I don't like when this is going. I mean, and like I said, this is a show that you're just watching it and wondering what's gonna happen. Doesn't look good. I don't know.
Healthy again, and there's our answer. Looks like the guests are going to be Secretary RFK as well as Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins. All right, so as I mentioned, Peter, there is another big topic that is a topic of discussion today, taking a look at some of the video coming in out of Greenland as President Trump and his team there discussing options for acquiring Greenland, and the use of the U.S. military in furthering that goal is, quote, always an option. That's what the White House had to say. In a statement to Reuters, the White House says that Trump sees acquiring Greenland as a U.S. national security priority, and they stop short of talking about Trump's ambition to make the island a part of the U.S., but again, they are saying that this is always an option. So, my question for you, what sort of strategic value does Greenland hold for the U.S. and overall for President Trump?
Well, it's really hard to understate the natural resources that Greenland possesses. Many of the mineral experts often like to say of Greenland, you could take a dart, throw it anywhere along the coastline that's not covered by ice, and you'd hit something valuable. So Greenland is very rich in minerals and rare earth minerals that the United States needs to power our modern economy. That alone is significant. But I think for President Trump, he understands this on a deeper level, and that's the real estate
So what about other people's economy? What about them? Greenland belongs to Denmark. What about their economy? That's always been theirs.
instincts that he has. Location, location, location. Greenland is some of the most valuable real estate on the planet by virtue of its location. So obviously, President Trump has set this as a major priority for his administration. And before his second term is out, I fully expect we will see a change in status in some regard to Greenland, Josh.
And what about the relationship with Denmark, NATO, all of that? How does that kind of factor into President Trump trying to acquire Greenland?
Well, this is where I believe there is a lot of unnecessary panicking on the part of our European allies, and God bless them for it. They are very worried that we could see military action, if you can believe it, against Greenland. I certainly don't think that is in the cards. Right now, the administration has been talking more along the lines of a purchase or negotiated agreement with Denmark over the status of Greenland. Let's remember, though, Josh,
How is it a purchase and a negotiated agreement where if Denmark says no, you're going to bring the military, you're going to take it by military action? That's not a purchase or an agreement.
is essentially a colony of Denmark here in the Western Hemisphere. It is the only remaining European colony here in our Western Hemisphere. And President Trump, well, he likes to invoke that Monroe Doctrine. It was President Monroe who facilitated the Louisiana Purchase many, many decades ago. So for many Americans who are living in the heartland of the United States, the connection between Monroe then and Trump today resonates in the case of Greenland.
And on that topic here, did want to ask you, when you talk about the potential for U.S. military intervention in Greenland, how would that change the dynamic of things if that were something that kind of came into play?
Well, again, I would really tamp down any concerns about such intervention. It is nearly impossible, less than zero, to imagine the United States invading Greenland, to imagine the U.S. military doing what we did in Venezuela, flying 100 feet over the wave tops to seize a country, seize this land. I really don't see that happening. The Europeans are nervous, though, because they haven't quite figured out President Trump when he started starts talking. I think he's blustering. I think he's posturing. But I think at the end of the day, he wants a real estate deal, and that is certainly something the United States could do. Josh, the United States.
A real estate deal is, listen, I'm going to go buy your house. I'm going to go and I'm going to give you $1 million for your house. Okay, no, you got to give me 2 million. Okay, no, I'm going to give you $500,000. And if you don't take it, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to send my military and I'm going to go over there with the gun, put a gun to your head, and you're going to have to give it to me anyway. That's not a real estate purchase.
The United States has already offered to buy Greenland back during World War II for $100 million in gold. Certainly that price may have gone up in the time since, but I think we're looking at a traditional real estate deal, if anything.
All right, Peter Duran, as always, talking about all the big topics and helping to break it down. Venezuela, Greenland, all of it. I'm sure we'll have you back very soon. Anything we missed on the Greenland?
When you put in military action, when you even talking about sending the military and that military, sending military, it's on the table. Come on, you can't. How you going to talk about a purchase? Then you're going to talk about, no, we're merely doing a purchase. We're going to buy from them. But you're not going to buy from them if you're saying, well, if they say no, I'm going to send the military and I'm going to declare war on them. I don't get that.
Greenland topic or anything else you want to mention here before I let you go?
Nope, that's all for now. Thanks for having me, Josh.
Thank you. And I do want to get you right back to this breaking news that we have been following here. This is actually a post now coming in from Fox News as we follow all of the latest details. Now, the U.S. attempting to seize a Venezuela-linked oil tanker after a more than 2-week-long pursuit across the Atlantic. That is according to Reuters. And right here, looks like sources are now telling the same thing to Jennifer Griffin over at Fox News Channel. The seizure could increase tensions between the U.S. and Russia because this now does fly a Russian flag. It came after the tanker, originally known as Bella 1, slipped through a U.S. maritime blockade of sanctioned tankers and rebuffed U.S. Coast Guard efforts to board it. The officials said the operation being carried out by the Coast Guard and the U.S. military. They added that Russian military vessels were in the general vicinity when the operation took place, and that included a Russian submarine. The tanker, as I mentioned, is now registered under a Russian flag and is the latest tanker that's been targeted by the U.S. Coast Guard since the start of President Trump's campaign involving Venezuela. The U.S. Coast Guard also intercepting another Venezuela-linked tanker in Latin American waters, Reuters reporting that. The U.S. continuing to enforce a maritime blockade of sanctioned vessels from Venezuela. No question, it is very likely that we will be getting more reaction and more information on all of this, so we'll bring that to you here on Live Now from Fox.
I don't know, guys. I don't like where this is going. I mean, this could turn out to be, like, this year could turn out to be a catastrophic year, guys. I don't like where this is going. It started, there's a lot of stuff going on, and you don't even know what's going to happen, and it's just a matter of time before everything blows up, guys. I don't know. I think Trump is going a little bit overboard. I've never seen any other presidents trying to take over other countries. But hey, it's crazy, guys. All we could do is just pray and see what happens, guys. Things are going crazy. Guys, you already know, man. Subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell. Hit the like button. Any donations to my channel will be greatly appreciated. My PayPal account is on the screen. May God help us. Peace, love, and God bless.